But let's get right into it. So episode 93, we're joined again by a returning friend of the program, Ben Volin of the Boston Globe. Ben, how are you?
Hanging in there, guys. Football
Yes.
season was great. The off season should be really exciting. The next couple, today is March 11th. Free agency starts in 6 days,
Yes.
and it should be pretty exciting for the Patriots. They're coming to the party with a wad full of cash and a lot of spots to fill. You know, it's funny though. For BostonGlobe.com, we did a little you be the GM type of project, and we listed maybe like the top 150 free agents and assigned a salary cap number to each of them, and you be the GM kind of thing. And the money goes fast with the Patriots. They have a lot of space, but they have a lot of holes to fill. And when you need a quarterback and a center and a receiver and at least one running back, if not two, and both your defensive tackles are free. I mean, they have a lot of holes to be filled. So that money goes quickly. They, even though they have I think it's, when you factor in Trent Brown, it's probably going to be like $63 million in cap space. And it's a ton of cap space, but it's going to go quickly. And I think they're going to have to create some more, whether that's releasing Marcus Cannon or trading Gilmore. Even though they have a ton of space, I don't think they're done making cap moves, because they have a lot of holes they got to fill as well.
What if they just released N'Keal Harry or traded him for, I don't know, bag of Cape Cod chips, Pringles? Right. I don't know, something in return that must help with the cap space. No,
one of my hats.
Your hat is arguably that hat is arguably worth more than N'Keal Harry. That hat is awesome. But
that was a weird report. No, that came up the other day that teams are proactively calling the New England Patriots.
So usually when I see reports like that it's just not that the team is shopping the player, but that the team is just fielding the calls. To me, that says that's from the team being like, "Hey, world, our guy's available. If you want him, come and get him." So. He really doesn't help with the cap space, and I think if they traded him, they would actually lose cap space. A first round pick like N'Keal Harry. So most first round picks get their entire 4-year contract guaranteed. The guys at the very end of the first round, like Harry was the 31st pick, they get like 3.5 seasons fully guaranteed. So his salary this year is only like 1.4, but it's fully guaranteed. And then, he had some bonus money that gets accelerated. So like if they did trade him, they would only pick up like 71 grand in cap space, but then you have to put someone else on the roster and take his place. Right. So it would actually be like a net loss. Mm-hmm. Now, so that's just a long way of saying they could still get rid of him, but it would strictly be performance related. It would be them saying, we don't want him anymore. We don't even want him taking up a roster spot. My hunch is if they got something decent for him, they would probably trade him away. Given how little he's produced so far, I don't see any team really giving up much for him. And so, his salary is going to be guaranteed anyway this year. So I think he's on the team. I think he has a roster spot, and they give him one more year to develop.
Is this year 4 or 3 he's going into?
This is his 3rd year.
Okay.
And look, you can make good excuses for him. First year, I think he got hurt in training camp and missed the first 8 weeks of the season. And then, it's tough to join the once the train is moving, especially when Tom Brady's the quarterback. And then, for his 2nd year, that's supposed to be when he takes a big jump, and weird off season with COVID, no OTAs. Like a guy like him could have used that development. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But this is make or break time now. And it still is going to be kind of a weird offseason. They might not really have OTAs or any practices, but still it's, he's healthy. It's another year in the system. He should know the playbook at this point. So this is really, do or die time for N'Keal Harry.
I would agree. One thing I just thought of that I literally just thought of, I've never really seen this or heard this talked about. I don't know if you knew too much about it, but what is the deal with, is there any sort of like vaccine requirement or plan or anything for the league? Like, are they trying to get all these guys wouldn't that help tremendously if everyone was vaccinated?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good question. And we asked, towards like the end of the season, especially at the Super Bowl, we had several media opportunities with like Dr. Alan Sills, who's the NFL's chief medical officer, and he was one really guiding, the NFL through COVID this year. And one thing they emphasized over and over was that the NFL was not going to cut the line. That, especially because the season ended in early February, and they don't really need to get back into action until late July, early August. And if we're not vaccinated at that point, we got bigger issues.
Well, that's what I mean. Like even if they follow the same protocols for 20 to 30-year-olds in their given state, that's fine. But I mean, and again, I know this is a polarizing subject, but like one of the things other people are talking about are, even just your normal workplace environment saying, hey, like we need you to be vaccinated to come back. I don't know if there's anything like that in general in the league. Like
they haven't said that they're going to require a vaccine, which I don't know that they will. I mean, you've got 9,000 people in the NFL, and some people are probably going to not want to do it. And I think that's their right. But I think what it means also is I think the NFL is going to, I think most people are going to be vaccinated by the time training camp starts.
Yeah.
The NFL said they wouldn't cut the line, and but everyone should be good to go by then. But I think we all understand the virus isn't going to be completely out of society either, and parts of what we're doing now in COVID are going to linger into the future. And so I think still, because probably the NFL is not going to have a requirement, they're still going to have to maintain a lot of their COVID protocols, wearing masks around the facilities, social distancing, virtual meetings, masks on the sidelines. They're still going to have to do that stuff next year, even though I would think, even though the vaccine is going to be prominent in society, I just, no one really knows where we're going to be, with not only COVID-19, but all the offshoot strains and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they haven't really, verbalized any concrete plan yet, just because there's no real need to, and they're not going to be playing games for a long time.
Still early.
But,
so are you preparing?
I would bet that there's not a mandate that you have to be vaccinated.
Yeah. I would think, I would agree with that. So are you planning for another year of Zoom media and press conferences for 2021?
That's a good question. I hope not. I mean,
I know, I'm sure.
I think we missed a lot by not being in the locker room and not being around the guys every day. And, especially like, there was that 2-week stretch when Cam and Gilmore got the virus, and there's a lot of stuff going on with the team, and you're not really able to get to the bottom of what's going on and how guys are feeling and what's really going on. And when, everything's done by Zoom and Cam came and potentially went, and we never got to meet him face to face, which is unfortunate.
Right.
So, I'm hoping there's, it might not be all the way back to open locker rooms and just big crowds of people all the time, but I'm hoping it's much closer to normal next year than this year was.
Yes, that would be nice. Let's shift to this real quick. So just outside of Patriots, kind of NFL offseason in general, I'd be curious to get your opinion. I think the NBA has kind of been that league where you'll hear people say, oh, the offseason is just as fun as the regular season, and following like free agency and stuff. Is the NFL starting to head in that direction, you think? Like with social media and Twitter and this, I mean, I feel like this year and the last couple of years has been a lot more, not more than the regular season, but following the free agency and trades and like, see the stuff with Deshaun Watson and stuff online has seemed to change a lot over the past like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, the offseason, I think, is always an exciting time. Like people who don't follow sports too closely, throughout my career have asked me, like, what do you do in the offseason? And I always say, football fans or sports fans, they like watching the games, number one, but a close second is just talking about next year. Who's going to draft? Who are we going to sign? Who are we going to cut? So it's always been exciting. But I would agree, and I think it has to do with the new CBA. I say new, I mean, it's from 2011, but it took a few years for the effects of that CBA to really take hold. And I think we're seeing it now where, the rookie wage scale has changed a lot. A lot of the younger players are so cheap now. And just a lot of the players in general are, there's like, you have your really expensive players and then you have your kind of, grunts, and there's not a whole lot of middle class. But because there's so many players who are cheaper, there's just a lot more movement. Teams aren't really wedded to these players anymore. You see a team like the Cardinals draft Josh Rosen 10th, then all of a sudden they get the first pick and like, sorry, Josh, kick you to the curb, and they go out and get Kyler Murray. Or, I mean, we'll see with Deshaun Watson. I mean, he just signed a new contract, and, he's trying to work his way out of Houston. People are starting to say that the NFL is becoming the NBA in terms of player empowerment. I definitely wouldn't go that far. There's really only a small handful of players that do have that kind of power. And even like, I would include Russell Wilson in that list, and I still don't think he's going to get traded this year, just because I don't think Seattle is at all motivated to give up on Russell Wilson and to wreck their salary cap this year. And we'll see about Watson. There's every day you wake up, like some days I wake up and there's no way that Nick Caserio is going to trade him. And then you wake up another day and you see what's out there, and it's like, well, they're just waiting and biding their time. But, the NFL, it's still not going to like the NBA. I mean, just look at the last week. A lot of the top free agents all came off the market because they were getting the franchise tag. And that's a tool that the owners have really used to their advantage to keep the top players off of the open market, not allowing them to reach their full earning potential. But, the offseason, I mean, it's been fun so far. We saw Matt Stafford and Jared Goff and Carson Wentz already trade teams. And last year we saw Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady and, a whole bunch of other guys. And we'll see about Jimmy Garoppolo now, and obviously Watson and Russell Wilson. So it's just, I mean, it's exciting. And especially this year too, with the salary cap, decreasing by 15 million. It's unfortunate for the players. They're feeling the brunt of it now. There are a lot of good players getting released onto the street, but it does kind of make it more exciting as a fan to see, lots of new faces coming and going.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought I had a chance at a roster spot, Ben, but with that news coming out, I gotta dust up the old LinkedIn profile. But a question about going back to our favorite player, N'Keal Harry again. I do have a question about rookie contracts. Are there incentives in there as much as there are are there incentives period in rookie contracts?
No. And
oh wow,
it is like the NBA in that sense. When you're picked the 22nd pick of the second round, your contract is like basically spelled out by the CBA. Like, every draft slot has its own salary cap and signing bonus assigned to it, and then the rest of the contract kind of builds its way out that way. So like, it's all in the CBA, but it's all pretty straightforward. Picks like 1 to 23 or 24 get their entire 4-year contract fully guaranteed. They're really the only players in the NFL, other than maybe like Kirk Cousins, who get fully guaranteed deals. And then, after that, like late first rounders get 3.5 years guaranteed. Second rounders get like 2, maybe 2 and change guaranteed. And then after the second round, it's just your signing bonus basically that gets guaranteed. But all the contracts are straightforward. They're all 4-year deals. The signing, there's really no negotiating involved. There's a couple different clauses that you can negotiate, but the owners did a good job of eliminating rookie holdouts. There's nothing to negotiate in these contracts anymore. And so all the players, they want to get paid. So it used to be you waited right until the eve of training camp and signed your contract. Now guys are signing in June because they want to get their signing bonus and get going right away because there's really nothing to negotiate.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate. To bring it back to N'Keal Harry, I wish there was some sort of requirement to, I don't know, make some sort of positive plays in every game. I'm not even like putting it down to numbers. I'm not going to say at least have 5 catches for positive yardage, but I think it would have been nice. I think Patriots fans would have been cool with that. But
I'd have enjoyed it. Games where he has more.
I mean, the good thing is he hasn't caught.
Go ahead.
You guys are tough on N'Keal Harry, man. You guys are way tougher than we are.
And it's never planned either.
The good thing is he's cheap.
Yeah, that's a good
it's
call.
unfortunate. They cannot pick receiver. I mean, I guess Julian Edelman certainly worked out, and they did okay with Malcolm Mitchell, but they have definitely struggled to identify and develop receivers. And I mean, it's a good thing N'Keal Harry's cheap. Like, he's only $1.4 million, so he's not really preventing you from spending money elsewhere. But he is taking up a roster spot, and when you draft a kid 31st overall and he's the second receiver off the board, you certainly expect more out of him. But So I'm not as harsh on him as you guys are, but this is definitely a key season for him coming up.
I'd feel better if I knew who the quarterback. Well, I don't know. Maybe we can ask you. Like, what everyone has their opinion on quarterback next year. What do you think? What's your latest on New England quarterback prediction? If you had to make one today, I know you talk about it a lot, but it changes every day probably.
When in doubt, talk quarterback. You can never go wrong talking about the quarterbacks. What everyone wants to talk about. I think it's obvious. The guy is Jimmy Garoppolo. When you look at all the absolutely, you look at all the options available in free agency. Cam and Ryan Fitzpatrick, Yoda, who actually would have to be traded for as well. James Winston. I mean, all those guys. You've had Cam at least, but I think physically Cam is done. I don't think he has anything left in his arm. And Jimmy knows your system. He spent 3.5 years as a backup. Belichick has raved about him. Belichick absolutely loves him. Jimmy, look, obviously the injury history is your big concern there, and no question, if you traded for Jimmy, you'd have to have a good backup as well because he just has not been able to stay healthy. But when he has stayed healthy, he started 16 games just a year and a half ago and took his team to the Super Bowl and had a very productive season. Has put up a lot of good numbers. One thing I did I looked into his stats this past week, and one thing I found really interesting about Jimmy, they say he can't throw the deep ball. He doesn't push the ball downfield. Since the start of the 2018 season, which is when he really took over for the Niners, he has the third most deep passes in the NFL, and that's completions of 25 yards or more. Now, I would bet you that a lot of that is catch and run as opposed to the deep ball. But who cares? 25 yards is 25 yards, and he's hit a good high percentage of them. So I think he's a smart player, a good rhythm and timing passer, very accurate, has been very productive, and Belichick likes him, and he knows the system, and he's younger, and he's taken the team recently to the Super Bowl. So to me, if the Niners make him available, and I think they might, I think these Sam Darnold rumors are real. I think the Jets might not be thrilled about paying Jimmy $25 million, and if they can get Darnold for $4.6 million, I think they might want to do that. And I think the Jets might want to trade Darnold away too. So I think Jimmy's the clear answer. If he doesn't become available, then I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is the clear answer. I just, as what you're looking for as a veteran bridge quarterback, I just think he's perfect for that. No ego, doesn't think he's going to be the future of the team. Is grateful to just kind of have a starting job. He's a terrific mentor for Tua. He's a great locker room guy. I mean, the players in Miami all loved Fitzy. And he's still a competent quarterback. To me, he's much better than Cam Newton. And he would give you competent quarterback play that would allow you to, compete for one of the 7 playoff spots. You could go 10-7 with Ryan Fitzpatrick and get in the playoffs. And you could draft a kid in the second round and sit him for a year or two. And Fitzpatrick is good enough that you can, you can competently evaluate other players on your team. He gives you that good work that allows you to see how other pieces on your team are developing. So to me, it's all about Jimmy G or Fitzpatrick, but then you also have to draft a quarterback as well. And it doesn't have to be first round, but definitely in the top 3 rounds, they need to identify a kid and draft him and have a plan for developing him.
God, I hope it's Jimmy G.
Yes, I agree. That would complete the AFC East. He played for all the AFC East teams at that point too, right? Fitzpatrick,
yeah, it would complete the board, definitely.
Something to celebrate, I guess. Go ahead. So,
Ben, question. I know you covered the NFL, but just being in the area now, who do you think is currently GM-wise under the most pressure in Boston? Because I think Danny Ainge is under a good amount of pressure right now. The trade deadline,
probably. I mean, they were pretty close to being a championship caliber team a couple of years ago with Kyrie and Hayward, and that plan obviously didn't come to fruition. Now, aren't they sitting on a $28 million trade exception too, something like that? I mean, they've got
but nobody knows what that really means.
Right.
I'm not convinced it's a real thing.
I mean, there's pressure on Belichick, and I think Brady winning the Super Bowl has turned it up a notch. that said, it's not like he's getting fired. It's not like he's getting run out of town. I don't think Danny is either. The Cam Neely too with the Bruins, though. I mean, this is a team that they've had a great nucleus for the last decade plus. Mm-hmm. They won the one cup. They've had a couple finals runs, but this is a Bruins team that should still be having be at the top of the league and skating for a Stanley Cup. And even the Red Sox, I mean, Chaim Bloom, you could say there's a lot of pressure on him too. So it's it's a good place to be in Boston, where all four of your teams are kind of relevant, and there are expectations. But I would have to say, if there's pressure, the most pressure has to be on Dan.
I would agree. I have a couple quick Brady questions before we let you go. First one. After that video evidence came out the other day, because I know I'm not going to ever do this again. Are you ever going to eat the ends of a banana again?
What did I miss? I missed the whole thing, I guess.
Oh, Ben, come on, buddy.
I don't.
What do you live under a rock?
All
right. Let me paint the picture. So, and Soapy, correct me where I'm wrong. Tom Brady came out with a Instagram post or some post. He was making one of his famous TB12 smoothies. He was sure enough to wear his TB12 shirt and branding and everything right on it. And he casually rips the ends off the bananas and tosses them to the side, and then says something along the lines of, "I don't eat the ends of the bananas, never have, blah, blah, blah," continues to make his shake. And then people are going crazy online, like, what does Tom know that we don't? Like, what are we doing here? Blah, blah, blah. So
that's
now
funny.
That you're fully caught up to speed and you know that.
Right. Well, that's funny because I cut up bananas for my little kids.
Sure.
And I do cut off the ends of the bananas for them, but I'm not a banana eater. I've never enjoyed the taste of banana.
All right.
So
BV12.
Yeah, me and Brady, we have very similar diets.
Yes.
If I'm assuming he eats Popeye's fried chicken sandwiches for lunch like I do, that's what keeps his body healthy.
That's chapter 9 in his book. Yeah. Yep.
So he's cutting. I know, like, definitely one end of the banana looks like you can eat it, but the other end is like pretty clear. That's the end. You don't want to be
stop.
Like, that's the end to cut off, right?
And similar to you making bananas for your kids, I have a 2-year-old, and I also don't feed him the ends of the bananas because I would just eat them. Like I enjoy it, but that's a hard stop. I'm like 3 or 4 days sober from banana ends since that video came out, and I'd like to keep going that way. So anyway, in my last question, which you kind of just alluded to, if Tom Brady and the Bucs win the Super Bowl this next year, do you think Gillette Stadium would just like collapse? Like be like a pile of ruins for the rest of eternity?
No, I mean, it depends
if that happens.
It depends on what Belichick. I mean, if they go 7-9 again, then and Brady has another hugely successful season. I mean, already it's like watching Brady take the Bucs on this incredible run. He so clearly has plenty of juice left. It's like
yes,
the whole playoff run. I think it started the not the Washington game, but the second against the Saints. He's leading the Bucs to a road victory, in the Superdome in the playoffs. I'm just like, why is he doing this for the Bucs? Why is he not with the Patriots?
Wait, what had happened?
Yeah, it just seems so silly that in hindsight that they couldn't figure it out and they couldn't have him finish his career there. I mean, it makes for a better story to have him down in Tampa.
Oh hell yeah,
and
absolutely.
It really turns up the heat on the Patriots, and I think they'll respond. I don't think they're going to have another season of scraping the bargain bin for a quarterback. And I mean, I do think Belichick is going to put a very competitive team out there this year, but it does seem really silly that Belichick and Kraft couldn't find a way to have Tom Brady finish his career here.
Yeah, I agree. And that's going to be another dynamic if they do bring Jimmy again next year. That Pats Bucs game is going to be insane either way. If it's Jimmy G and the Patriots, oh my Jesus.
So, I mean, for that game, I mean, who do you guys think people will be cheering more for, Brady or the Patriots?
I don't know. It depends, because I think we've talked about this before. I think the fact that he won the Super Bowl really shifted a little bit. Like I said going into last year, obviously we're both Patriots fans, but I was saying like, hey, I'm going to follow the Patriots. But I really was like, I'm probably going to follow the Bucs like a 1A. Like I'm really interested in watching them play because of Brady. But after a few weeks, I was like, I don't really care anymore. But to your point, once being real that the Patriots stink and Brady's playing well and the Bucs are actually going to do something this year, I followed the Bucs in the playoffs, not quite the same, but pretty close to a Patriot. Like the Pats weren't in it. I was like, I'm invested in this game, just like a Patriots game. But for next year, depending what they do, if they show tangible steps towards improving the team, then yeah, I think most people will probably watch the Pats. But if they play like,
it's gonna be a lot of Bucs fans in the crowd.
Oh, good point. Good point. The actual stadium's gonna be nuts.
People are gonna be cheering for Brady next year, and so that's gonna be interesting for sure. And I would bet you that, to your point, you made that it depends on it, how the Patriots are doing. But so I would bet you that Bucs Patriots game is going to be early in the season, because if you're like Robert Kraft, you do not want Brady coming in and playing your 4-8 team, and that's all they talk about on the broadcast is how great Brady's doing and how poorly. So it's probably going to be like a week 2 game, when both teams are 1-0 or something.
Yep, that works for me.
People, that would be so. That'd be perfect, just because it would still be when it's warm too, and hopefully, who knows if it's full attendance and whatnot, and you guys are covering it, like on location or whatever, like that could set up to be quite the spectacle.
That's a good point. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I do think that's kind of my hot take for the offseason. I think week 1 is going to be full stadiums this year. I think,
really? Wow, that'd be sweet.
The Cowboys already said that, right? That they were going to allow that?
Oh, of course, yeah. I thought they were full capacity last year. I swear there were Cowboys games that looked like sellouts. I was like, holy shit. There's like 50,000.
I think the Cowboys accounted for 19% or 20% of all attendance. So.
Yeah, probably. I will say, like we've talked about this with some other guests on, it's football. I thought that the presentation of it was fine, like during the game, until you catch a random glimpse like into the stadiums or into the seats rather than empty, especially at Gillette. That was such a letdown. Like that was noticeable. So I'd be, obviously, if it's done the right way, I'm definitely looking forward to getting real people in the stands next year. Hopefully myself included. Go ahead, Soap. I'll let you ask one more question, then we'll let Ben go.
Yeah, this is the last one for me, Ben. This is a less serious question, but I don't think we asked you this last time, so I'm curious. I want you to rank my 3 favorite football plays in terms of entertainment value for you. So I've got long, like game-winning field goals, downed punts, and specifically when the ball is about to bounce into the end zone and the gunner or whatever has to jump in and tip it back.
Coffin corner punt.
Or an onside kick attempt in crunch time.
What was the first option?
Long, like overtime field goal,
walk-off field goal.
Oh, like a 58-yarder to win it. To me, that's the most exciting.
That gets the juices going.
I'm already excited just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, anything over 60 yards, like that is like, edge of your seat type of moment, and if they make it, you explode. So I would go for the long field goal in overtime. Okay. The down punt is probably number 2, just because that's you're not like expecting it. It happens like randomly, but it can be such an acrobatic play when the guy's diving in the end zone and scooping it out. And then, sorry, I have terrible.
Yeah, when it happens, it's good.
Yeah, right, the third one was an onside kick recovery, right?
So onside kick
that
attempt.
To me is not that exciting because like 5% of them get recovered. So it's like a fatalist play. You go into it like expecting nothing to happen. 95% of the time, it's true. So that's how the order you listed them, I would rank them.
I think I just like the strategy of how guys are trying the new onside kick rule, where they're trying to like almost like a spin the bottle type thing, where they don't even put it in the air and they just try to get it to go 10 yards. I don't know. That's pretty cool. I might have to move it up, but I agree with you so far.
I would add to your list. I love a good safety. I mean, I love safeties.
I haven't seen a good safety in a while. I like a nice misdirected snap right over the quarterback's head through the uprights for a safety.
Those are fun.
Those are sexy plays. Yeah.
And then fat guy kick returns are great too. Like Dan Connolly.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
When they pooch kick it and the up back has to, like anytime you can get a big guy running with the ball, that's always one of the most exciting plays. A herd of elephants out there.
That's such a good call with the safety though, because no other play gets that, that's such a demonstrative like gesture.
Yeah, right. Everyone. Yeah.
You don't get that with any other play.
And it's funny. I heard a very passionate argument, and I think I agree with it, that the safety should be worth way more than 2 points. If you're able to tackle a team inside its own end zone, that's like a significant. It should be worth 3 or 4 points,
at least three, but you also get the ball back with decent field position too, or the opportunity.
Get the ball back.
That's pretty demoralizing too. If you're the quarterback, you take a sack.
A very significant play like that. Yeah. That it's only worth 2 points. That's weird to me.
If you start the petition, I'll sign it. I'm not disagreeing with you there. Yeah.
Those are deep thoughts from Volin today.
We'll end there.
BB12.
So seriously, man, thanks again for hopping on. I know you're a busy dude. Where's the best place for people to find you online if they're just checking in today?
Sure. BostonGlobe.com. Read my work, please. Subscribe to the newspaper. Support a good cause. And on Twitter, my name is @BenVolin, BenVolin.
Nice. When are you going to start your own podcast? Everybody has. You didn't know that?
That's a good question. Everyone and their mother has a podcast. I'm just kind of like,
I'm kidding.
Might have some other things in the works right now, but nice, I'd rather just come on with you guys.
Yes, appreciate that.
You have been a great third. You've been a great third. Dan and I have talked about that. So
Yep. All right, man. We'll let you go. Thanks for coming on. Later, Ben.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the offseason. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it.